Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I'm excited to get this one started because I am going to start my rod building series. You know, what I've mentioned before in some of my videos is I'm planning to pretty much build all of the main rods that I use on a regular basis, provide you guys all the different dimensions, show you how to do it, give you the part numbers so you can go to mudhole.com, order the MHX blanks, order the components, and you guys can build the exact rods that I build and I use in all of my tournaments. I truly believe that the MHX blanks that I've been using for the last, I think, 6 years now, give me an advantage over my competition. My performance goes up every year, and I truly give a lot of that credit to the rods, because if you build the right rod for the baits that you like to use, you will not only get the best performance out of that technique, but you'll get the best performance and feel out of the bait that you prefer to use. So I'm really excited for it. Today we are going to start with the CB907. So it's a blended rod, which means it's a composite rod made by MHX. It's a here's one that I'm using. I'm going to build an extra one of these. It's just the CB907, MHX CB907. So it's a 7.5 footer. It's a 7 power, but remember, it's a blended rod, so it's not straight graphite. So it's going to have much more of a softer tip, a parabolic bend, which I think is essential anytime you throw chatterbait, because as a moving bait, anytime you've got a moving bait, you're pulling it away from that fish when they try to bite it. So I want to have a soft tip so that when they inhale the bait, the rod tip gives a little and that bait goes further into the fish's mouth, allowing for better hookups. But the rod has still got the length and the power behind it to allow you to work the chatterbait in an erratic manner and allow you to fight the big fish that you're going to catch with this rod. So I'm really looking forward to building this. I want to point out a couple of simple things that I do get questions on a lot of times. In this case, my CB907s, actually you can get different powers of this rod. So the CB905, 906, the 907, all of the ones I build, I use orange thread on because I know they're going to be like my chatterbait rod or a swim bait rod. And when I've got 20 rods out on the deck, I like having different colored threads because that tells me what the rod is. So in this case, I'm going to put orange thread. I'm going to match everything on this rod. All of the CB907s are going to look exactly the same, and that's so I can quickly grab a CB907 when I reach down to try to differentiate it from 10 other rods. That doesn't mean you guys have to do it. I'm just going to point it out. They also all have charcoal handles with the orange thread work. Up to the first guide. From the first guide up, it's all black thread work, but it's simply done for me to be able to easily identify this rod. When you get a blank, you literally get nothing on it. You get a blank. So this is the CB907 that we're going to be building. A couple of quick tips I just want to point out. In this case, we're going to remove the sticker that says CB907 on it. And I put a little piece of tape on here that I'll write CB907 on. And then I've already gone ahead and found the spine of the rod. I do that just so that when you remove the sticker, you know what blank you're building, because sometimes you have multiple blanks. It's just a good habit to do. I went ahead and found the spine using my CRB spine finder. The whole reason for that, and I've done videos on this before, you will maximize the performance of your rod if you build knowing where the spine is. So you just want to be aware of that. It's a really good thing that most custom rod builders do, but for some reason, a lot of the mass-produced rods are not built on the spine. So I highly recommend that. I've already identified the spine. And then as we go along and build the rod, what I will do, so I've got, when I talked about giving the dimension, guys, these are rod builds that I've done. All different rod builds. I keep detailed notes. Now, I keep detailed notes for myself. I can't say I ever really thought that I would be giving out these to other people. So I will go ahead and put this in the video later for you. And I will clean it up so that you don't have to deal with my handwritten notes and you can see specifically what the part numbers are. I will match everything up you know, I'll give the detailed name of the part and then give you the part number for mudhole.com, so you can go there and just type in that part number. And then, you know, I'll give you everything from the dimensions, but we'll walk through everything. As you can see, I mean, I've got tons and tons of different rods that I've built in the past. We're going to start with the rods that I use on a daily basis, the ones that really matter for me in tournament situation. I think the first two I think we're going to do is the CB907, and then I think I'm going to do a good flipping stick, not super heavy flipping stick, just like a good all-around flipping stick. The FP885 I think is going to be the second one, because I want to build an extra one of those for the Harris chain as well. So that's where we're at, guys. You don't need a whole lot. I've got my CRB wrapper here, and then, you know, I've got a couple of turners, but that's really it. You know, you can go and get starter kits at mudhole.com as well. It really is pretty cheap. If you build one high-end rod, like one CB907, you will pretty much pay for the parts that you need in the after the first rod build, because you can build these high-end rods for about half the cost. A lot of these rods would retail for $300 to $400 in the store, and you're going to be able to do it for about half of the retail price. So it's really worth it. And the more rods you do, the cheaper it gets. And it's just great being able to have the ability to work on your own rods, whether that's repair one that, you know, had a guide fall off, or fix a blank that got broken, or just, you know, make alterations to it to get it to exactly how you want it. But let's go. Let's build a CB907. The first thing I got to do, like I said, is find the spine, which I already went ahead and did. I've got videos on how to do that. The next thing we got to do is I've got my measurements for the guides here. So what I'm going to build, in this case, it's basically a 10 1/4 inch handle. So that means the reel seat will be, the bottom of the reel seat will be 10 1/4 inches from here, and that's because it's really going to be 10 1/2 after I put my butt seat on, or the butt grip on. And then at that point, I'll get that all measured up, but I want to get the marks for where the reel seat goes. I want to get the marks for all where the guides go, and I'm going to lay that out. I'm just going to take a simple China marker, get my measuring stick out, and I'm going to go ahead and make those marks. One thing I will point out, another really nice thing, is once you've already built one rod, you can pretty much make these marks really easy by just comparing it to the other rods that you've already built. So if you're building multiple rods at once of the same blank, it usually makes the process easier, because you can do everything at once for multiple rods at the same time. So it makes it a lot easier. But we're going to put the marks on here, and then I'll be back to you, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so we just got our measurements put down. You can see all the white marks from the China marker in line with the spine of the rod. That goes all the way up. So then I've got them for the guides, as they go all the way up the blank as well. Really what I'm concerned with right now is making sure that my components fit. So I've gone ahead, I've gotten the Fuji reel seat that I like to use. It's a ECSM 13B. So that I know snugs fit. This mark right here is going to be the bottom of the reel seat, and that fits snug. And then I'll just use a simple winding check that snaps down on top of that. So that's all good, but I do need to go ahead and get my Winn grips to fit. So both the butt and the handle do not slide all the way down, because when they give these to you, or when you buy them, they come to fit all different sizes of rods. So that hole is not big enough. I need to ream that out. So I've got here, this is my CRB reamer set, and basically all it is like sandpaper on a rod. And then I'll take this, connects into my cordless drill, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to ream that hole bigger. The one thing I do want to point out when you're doing this is the reamers are tapered from small to big end, just like your rod is tapered from small to fat end. So when you put your components in, so in this case, this is my handle, I want to make sure that I start reaming the bottom part of the handle, which is going to be the fattest part of the taper. So when I do that, I just want to make sure that I've got it. So I'm going to ream this out to get the butt grip and the handle to fit so that they're snug in place, and then I can go ahead and glue that and the reel seat into place. But that's how you ream it down and get it into position. So we'll do that now. Reamed out our handle and our butt grip. As you can see, that fits nice and snug. The handle slides down, fits right into place, right where we want it to. So now we just got to go ahead and mix up a little bit of our Pro Paste 2-part rod glue, and then put that down, glue it in place, and we'll let it sit. It really doesn't take that long. I usually let it sit overnight anyways, and then I can start doing the guides tomorrow. But let's just go ahead and we'll get this glued up, put it aside, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right, well now I'm just cleaning it up. I've got most of the excess glue off. I've just got some alcohol on a paper towel, and I'm literally just making sure I've gotten all the excess glue off, because that would potentially not look great, I guess. But we've got her all nicely lined up, cleaned up. Don't want any fingerprints, anything like that. Nicely lined up on the spine. So there's the rod. We've got it all lined up. Everything is good to go. It's just needs to dry, and it doesn't take long to dry. Like I said, I leave it go overnight. At this point, I'm good. Tomorrow I'll come down, I'll start putting the guides on. But, you know, really in only a few minutes worth of work, we're done for right now. We've got a handle, everything, the whole lower end of the rod is done. Now it's just a matter of putting on our guides. Check back with you tomorrow. Well, I'm taking a quick break here. I've been threading up the rod. You can see everything is in place. We've got our butt grip, we've got our handle, the reel seat, everything glued in perfectly. Looks fantastic. I have put the orange thread work in, getting ready to put all the guides. I've got my hook keeper mounted, the label on CB907. So we're good to go. I'm going to finish this up, and while I'm doing that, I will put up all the dimensions and the different components that I'm using. In this case, I'm going to be putting a size 8, a size 6 double-footed guides into a chain of 10 single-footed guides up to my rod tip. I'm using all the CRB laser components. And yeah, so I'll put that up. I'm going to get back to work here, try to finish this up, and then we'll get to the epoxy work. Okay, there we go, guys. We've got it all threaded up. Now I just need to make sure that they are all in a row. So when I tie them, I always put on like 2 at a time. and then I take the rod off, I line them up. I think it's easier to line them up if I look at it after every couple versus putting them all on and then trying to line them up. To me, that's easier because then I've got everything in a row and it's just the last couple ones that I need to look at. So I'm gonna put these on, throw my rod tip on, and then we'll get to epoxy. Got a brand new MHX CB907 in the drying rack. I've got all of the epoxy work done. That's going to be in overnight. It'll be ready to go by tomorrow. A perfect backup for this CB907, which is my absolute favorite chatterbait rod. I've got some fish catches here from several years ago when I was at Lake Seminole that I want to show you, because these fish catches really will show how well this rod performs when you're throwing a chatterbait. The first thing I want to point out is when I make the cast, look at how good the rod loads up. Because it's a blended rod, it loads up with a very good parabolic bend, and it's effortless to get this bait to cast at a long distance. But when you cast at a long distance, you also need the backbone to set the hook, and this rod has that. I mean, you'll see these fish that these 3 fish catches that I'm showing, they're anywhere from 3.5 to 5 pounds, and the rod just loads up beautifully. You can see the bite in all of them, so you can tell how sensitive the tip is. But when I go to set the hook, look at how good the bend is in the rod. It is a very parabolic bend, which allows the fish to suck that bait in. And you'll see when I go to unhook these fish, the bait is down inside of the mouth. That's exactly what you want anytime you're fishing a chatterbait. These 3 fish catches, you know, are good quality fish, 3.5 to 5 pounds, I would say. And it's just a matter of being able to control the fish, and having a rod that's got the parabolic bend in it will do so many positive things. It allows the fish to get the bait fully in its mouth. It allows you to fight the fish. Look at how good in this one fish catch, look at how good the rod stays loaded up, and you can tell that fish is running directly at me because I can't crank fast enough to keep up with it. But that little bit of a bend in this parabolic rod is what keeps that hook driven home in the fish's mouth. If I was throwing, say, an extra fast action tip, that rod would have lost its load, and therefore at that point I would have had a good shot at losing that fish because I wouldn't have maintained pressure on it. So having a 7.5 foot rod that's got a soft tip, a parabolic bend, and a good backbone is exactly what you need when you're throwing a chatterbait rod. I can't tell you how well I think that this rod performs. It really is the main difference in me going from not a very big chatterbait fan to a diehard chatterbait user. I love a good chatterbait, but the biggest thing that you can do is pair the chatterbait up with a good rod. If you're not throwing the right rod, you're not going to get that top performance out of the bait, which means you're missing bites. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed showing you how to make it. If you've got questions regarding the components or the measurements, put them in the comment section so I can answer them for yourself. Other people probably have the same questions. If you need any of the components, all of the model numbers I've provided are through mudhole.com. You can get the MHX CB907 blank. You can get the all the components, the CRB components, as well as everything else that you may need through mudhole.com. Guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more different rod builds coming throughout the year.